Hey guys, I am so excited you're here because today we are actually recording the Buyers 101. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I think it's an opportunity for everybody to get access to the information easily without feeling like they have to commit to a realtor. Ultimately, of course, I would like for you to give Juan and I an opportunity to be your realtors or refer you to one in your area. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to cover a lot today. I'm going to share my screen really quick so that you can see the presentation and not just me, which I know that would be fun, but okay. So let's get started. Grab you a drink, grab you a snack, pen and paper so that you can write down questions for us. And let me kind of give you a little introduction to us and our real estate team. So this is a picture of my husband quite a while ago, but I just like the smile on that one, so I use that picture of me and our amazing coordinator, Kim. So I've been licensed since 2006. Juan got licensed following in 2007. And we have grown a big business. We've trained agents, we've coached agents, and we've worked a lot with agents. And basically, for a long time, we coach buyers agents on how to give a buyer's 101, how to consult with the buyer so that they have the information up front to be prepared. And sometimes I think there's a learning curve. And I was hoping that if I recorded this YouTube video, that buyers would actually watch it and they would actually get more of the information than basically what they would get on their own. So I hope this helps. So I'm going to kind of jump right into it. I've skipped a lot of the pages because since we're having the conversation, but if you want the whole thing, just let me know. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start with the counseling session with a realtor, and they're going to ask you a series of questions. But first, let's talk with you about what it would mean to hire a real estate agent. I'm going to follow this link really quick, and it popped up over there. So here's an example buyer's representation agreement. Every agent's going to give you an information and brokerage services, and we'll share with you what ours looks like here in just a second, and as well as a buyer's rep agreement. So this is what it basically is. It's going to be your name as the buyer. eXp Realty is the broker. So we're an agent that is licensed under eXp Realty. And our head office was in Austin. We now have an office here in Dallas. We work in the DFW area, mostly Collin County, but we also go into Dallas County and we have agents in other areas as well. Term of this agreement. Basically, we typically do a 6-month. Every agent is different. Notice that all these blanks in here, those are all negotiable blanks. So keep that in mind for when you do the contract as well, and we'll go into that. So our obligation as a brokerage, as an agent, is to be knowledgeable. We need to be loyal to you and your wishes. Like, we need to put your wishes ahead of our wishes, our commissions. We kind of have to have an idea of our market area. We're going to negotiate on your behalf some basic obligations as that you would expect from a realtor, right? Your obligation to us is that you're going to work with us. The best thing about working with one agent is that we're going to have lots of conversations, especially a buyer's agent, and we're going to learn what you want in a home. A lot of times this comes in handy when I visit with a buyer and they're like, you know what? School districts are really important. The reason I am moving is because I want to be in a really good school district. And then they find the perfect house and everything's perfect about it. But the school district is not what they were originally wanting, according to the statistics. And I can remind them, say, hey, is that still not as important? Are we going to do private school instead, or another school? Or do you feel like this school is going to be good enough for what you were wanting? Or it needs to be a certain range from work, right? You say, I do not want my commute to be longer than 30 minutes, but then you found the perfect house 60 minutes away. And I'm going to remind you that we had that discussion. Is this really something you want to give up? master first floor, second floor, things like that. Those are things that we consider. But over time, your realtor is going to learn what you need and what you like and what's important to you. Whether it might be, I need a move-in ready home, I don't want a fixer-upper, right? Or over time, or maybe they can ask you a series of questions to help you define what it is that you really want. There's times I talked to somebody one time, they're like, I want big, bright, open, light and bright kitchen. At the end of the day, they wind up getting an older, more a home with a closed galley kitchen. And they said it just felt more like home. They thought they wanted the big and the bright with the windows that with all the light in. And they're like, it was kind of warm and it's too open. They really preferred that coziness. And so it's funny what you can find over time, and us as realtors will help guide you in that process. Representations, of course, this means that each person that you are who you say you are, and we are who we say we are. Intermediary, what this means is it allows us to show you homes that are listed by us agents or other agents who are at our brokerage. So eXp Realty, we have a lot of agents across the country, and we're growing by leaps and bounds. So there's a good chance that a property that you want is also listed by another eXp agent. This allows us for us to show you that property and for us to work with you and represent you as a buyer for that listing. And once, should you decide to put an offer on a house that is listed by a fellow eXp agent, we're going to send you an official intermediary notice form that says, hey, we're going to represent you, the buyer, and this agent is going to represent the seller. Okay? This says no to intermediary status. We don't ever do that. We figure we want to be able to show you every house that's on the market. Competing clients, basically, you know that you're not our only client. As much as we would love to just be able to work with one client at a time, we really have multiple clients that we work with at one time. You understand that. Confidential information. Basically, if you tell us that you'll pay $600,000 for that house and we're putting an offer for $400,000, I'm not going to run off to that seller and say, you know what? I know our offer's $400,000, but they'll really pay $600,000. So things like that. That is one example of confidentiality. Broker fees, commissions. Now, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about commissions, but the reason I like to go through this is because we are going to talk about commissions. Here's how it works in our area in North Texas and many areas across the country. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to help you purchase this house, okay? You're not going to pay me a commission, but in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, whenever it is that you decide you're going to sell the house, you're going to come back to me. And I'm going to charge you a full commission in which I'm going to share that commission with the buyer's agent. So what's happening today is somebody else, a seller, has hired a listing agent, and that listing agent is going to share their commission with me, the buyer's agent in this case. So just remember, a few years down the road, you might as well use me now because I'm already getting paid to represent you as your buyer's agent. And a few years down the road, you're going to come back and you're going to hire us to sell your house. And that's when you're going to actually pay our commissions on the back end. Pretty good system we have here in the area, isn't it? So that's the commissions. We only get paid when we help you satisfy your goals of purchasing a home. All the effort that we put in up front, we don't get paid until we know for sure that you're going to purchase a home. So there's a lot of things that we do up front to ensure that you hit your goals, okay? And we're going to make sure that we cover all of that. Construction, just so you know, we can also help you on new construction for sell by owners. We work through commissions through all that as well. Protection period, so let's say in 6 months, we show you a house and then we don't go on a contract until after our 6-month period is over. We still like to get paid on that, please. So that just says that, hey, if we are the procuring cause and we showed you that house, you're going to use us as your buyer's agent to help you purchase that home. escrow authorization. Basically, we're going to allow escrow or earnest money or good faith money to be held at the title company for the transaction. We don't do that as agents, just so you know, like this does, but an escrow or closing agent at the title company will do that. So just so you know, you won't actually be cutting me a check. So we'll go over in the contract, the checks that you will cut and to whom you will cut those checks to, and when you will do that. You'll actually cut 4 checks before you even get to closing. Isn't that crazy? So that's why we want to make sure that you're prepared and you have all this information before you go through the process of writing all those checks. We want to make sure you qualify for the house. We want to make sure you know what you're getting into. And then this gets to the normal contract language, mediation, meaning before anybody sues anybody, we're going to have a conversation about it. We'll mediate. We'll get somebody to get in the middle. Default, if somebody, you know, doesn't do what they say they're going to do, we're going to, you know, do what we need to. Attorney fees. Basically, the losing party gets to pay the attorney fees, limitation of liabilities. And this is, I don't know, legalese. So if you have any questions about any of this, feel free to visit with an attorney about it. But these are all forms that we get through our Texas Real Estate Commission. I'm not an attorney. Well, I'm not an accountant. I'm a realtor. I'm a real estate agent, and we help you buy, sell, and homes. So we really help you build your wealth in real estate and help keep you informed so that you can make the best decision for your family. And then additional notices, and that's it. It's really quite simple. So hope that helps. And, oh, that's not what to do. Here we go. Let's go back to our presentation. Okay. So that talks about what it would take to hire a realtor. Next step is shopping for lenders. So, goodness gracious. I always say go with somebody local. Go with somebody who's got experience. I have agents that I refer because our clients have a history with them, and we have a history with them. They close on time, they consult well. They're not going to do a bait and switch. So like sometimes you'll get a place online and they'll say, oh, 1.5% interest rate. And then like that's ever existed, but you know what I mean? And then you call them and then you get under contract and everything. And then they bump it up to 4%, 5% because of additional information. This brings us to pre-approval, okay? Get pre-approved. There's a lot of reasons to do it. A lot of it is, remember those 4 checks I was telling you about earlier? Those 4 checks, it's a lot of money. You want to make sure that you truly qualify for your process, for your home. So when we ask you to visit with the lender, we're saying go visit with that lender, get a pre-approved, let them run your credit report, send them your bank statements, your tax statements, do a full pre-approval, go through that entire underwriting process because a qualification doesn't hold as much weight. And if they don't go through the entire loan qualification approval process, something might show up later on, which could cost you a lot of money and potentially the emotional process of finding your home, which kind of stinks, and we don't want to have to go through that whole process. So please, 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 please go through the pre-approval process. We're not trying to be difficult. We just want to make sure that you truly qualify and get that home that you say you want to get. And we don't want you to wind up homeless. You know, there's times where a seller sells a house. We want to make sure that they truly qualify for that house. You know what? Stuff happens, like mistakes happen on credit reports, and you have to go through the process of fixing it. And you want to make sure that you have time to do that. Okay. There's a loan application part. There's a, be prepared to pay for a credit report. Okay. $50 to $7,500. These are kind of the basic things that they're going to ask from you. Plus they might need additional items. You don't need to supply your divorce decree right away. Typically that just comes up if you have a house to sell and it was in both of y'all's names. We just want to make sure that that works out okay. But really it's going to be your W-2s, your tax statements, your bank statements, things like that. Get that over to them. I know some people are concerned about sending that. That's a reason we don't use some random person that you get on the internet and do a click, because we don't know who that person is. I want to be able to go touch my lender, and like, that's weird, right? Did I just say that? But like the processor, the underwriter, I want all of those people to know them, because also when a closing doesn't go through, like we negotiated the whole thing, the bulk of the time that a loan doesn't, closing doesn't happen is because the loan fell through, right? Your lender is so critical, so critical. Here's a few that we've worked with that we've had amazing success with, and we love these guys. Lewis, Rob, Brad. I mean, they have amazing reviews and they do a great job for their clients. So give them a call and let them know that Juan and Bettina sent you. They know us, they love us, they like working with us, and they really like the clients that we send them. So give them a call. They'll take great care of you. And you know what? I know where they live. Details. Next, after we know you're pre-approved, let's start looking at houses, okay? We can go preview houses and take a look at them. And if you're not ready for that step yet and you're just window shopping, go to our website, homestarsellers.com. Next is the contract. So I'm gonna spend a little bit extra time on the contract, okay? Yay, it popped up on the same window. So let's kind of go over the purchase contract. So parties, that's going to be the seller and the buyer. If you're a spouse, I typically could put there. If you're not married, I'm going to make that like tenant in common. So for the title company's sake, or we can just let them know later. Next is going to be information about the property. Improvements, all items that are permanently installed and built-in items. So curtains, blinds, things like that typically convey or go with the property. Things that typically do not convey in our area are going to be the washer, dryer, and refrigerator. The stove, built-in microwave, dishwashers convey. So a lot of things people get confused about, and I love to clarify ahead of time, is the TVs, the brackets. I like brackets to stay because they leave a big hole in the wall if you try to remove them. But the TVs easily come, you can easily unscrew a TV, right? So those are some things that are in discussion. If you're listing a property and those curtains in your kid's bedroom go with that comforter, I always recommend to sellers to remove it ahead of time. We don't need to have that discussion with the buyer, but just be aware that not everybody does that. Typically exclusions are going to be listed on the MLS. Sometimes they make an error and they don't list it, but typically all exclusions are going to be listed on the MLS. So this is going to be our offer price. You've got your cash portion of the sale and your loan amount. So if you're going to FHA, that's typically going to be about 3.5% down, conventional 5, 10, 20% down. So when you add the cash portion plus the loan portion, that's going to give you your offer price right here. And that's going to go here in this third line. License holder disclosure. So basically in here, I'm going to put if the listing agent is related to the seller in some way or have some kind of relationship in the property. They have ownership in it, or their spouse or family member or something, or business entity in it. Earnest money. Earnest money is like your good faith money that's held at the title company. So that's going to be one of the first checks that you write. It's typically going to be 1 to 2% of the sales price. It's going to be made out to the title company. And again, these blanks that we put in here are all negotiable. They're not hard items. Like this contract was written by our Texas, and you can find it in the Texas Real Estate Commission. So these are, just be aware of that. Blair is just somebody that we often use. Republic Title, we often use them, so it auto-populates in here, but it gives you an example. If you have any title questions, I suggest giving them a call, or attorney questions, real estate attorneys. They have access to all that, okay? Title policy. Typically what I see, and again, this is negotiable, the seller pays for title. Sometimes the buyer will offer to pay for title if it's a multiple offer situation and they want to compete and they don't want appraisal. This is a way that the seller can net more money, and they can make that expense a buyer expense versus a seller expense. If both boxes are checked, then of course that will be a split between the buyer and the seller. Okay, so I'm just going to go through this. This is basically survey coverage. $100 or so on that. Survey, typically I'm going to check this box and say, hey, within 3 days effective of this contract, we're going to ask the seller to provide the survey along with the T47 affidavit. The affidavit basically states if there's been any other changes to that survey, to the property that do not appear on the survey. Again, often we'll say, ask the seller to provide it if the title company doesn't approve it or the lender doesn't approve it. A buyer, of course, can also offer to do this. This is something that a sellers typically will look on fondly. Depending on the size of the property, if there's anything outside, but at your typical property, I budget about $500 for a survey. Okay, objections. Buyer object in writing. Things that we put, I've seen residential use for this. Obviously, this is a residential contract. You don't have to put residential in there. You shouldn't, because it's redundant. But let's say you want to build a pool and you want to make sure that you can build a pool on the property, or you want to be able to store an RV on the property, or you want to be able to run a daycare out of this property. These are things that that you want to put in there that says, hey, if for some reason I can't do that, once I get the commitment or the documents or the survey and I review that, I have 5 days or whatever number you put in that blank days to review that and get back to you and get out of the contract and get my earnest money back because of that. Those are exceptions. Notices to title policy, title notices, membership in property owners association. So if it is a part of a homeowners association, a homeowners association, that's another way. That's how we typically call it in our area, membership in property owners association. It's an HOA. You either check it is or is not. If it is, we add an extra HOA addendum. All right. I'm just gonna taxes, tidewaters, annexation. This contract that we're going over is for the entire state of Texas. We do not have tidewaters and things like that, but you can get a copy. I'll show you where you can get a copy of this and kind of read through all of this. Let's see here. Propane, property condition. I'm kind of just going through the blanks part. How's that? Or otherwise we could be here for a while. Seller's disclosure notice. Very often, us listing agents will put the seller's disclosure on the MLS, which gives you, the buyer, an opportunity to review it ahead of time. If you've received it ahead of time, we're going to check this box. If not, we want to, we'll check this box, and we're going to ask that they get it to us pretty quickly, because we want to be able to review it prior to getting the inspection done, or at the same time, and things like that. The other thing that they've added is acceptance of property condition. So typically we're accepting the property as is, right? But it doesn't preclude you from getting an option, purchasing an option period. And we'll go into that in a little bit, but basically your option period is a period of time that you purchase where you get the option to get out of the contract for any reason. You wake up and you're like, I don't think I want to buy this house because the stars and the moons aren't aligning anymore. It's a period of time that you purchase to get out of the contract for any reason. That's typically not a good reason to get out of a contract. You kind of need a good reason, right? So during this period of time is that period of time where you as a buyer are going to set up your inspections. You're going to get you're going to do all your due diligence. You're going to make sure that this is the property that you want to purchase. Now, it does also, during their option period, is a period of time that you can come back and you can ask for repairs and negotiate things like that. And we're going to go further into that here in just a minute. And I don't want to spend a lot of time in that, but typically things that we're going to look for are going to be foundation, roof, structural, water heaters. Make sure all the systems and structure is in place. Okay. Let's see. Home warranty, residential service contract home warranty is another way to put it. You can put 0. I always recommend, as a listing agent, I recommend to sellers to purchase it for the buyers. The way this works is you're going to put a number in there. This right now it's $595. Let's say you order a home warranty with all the bells and whistles and it's $1,000. The seller will contribute up to $595. You, the buyer, will pay the difference of $405. But let's say you look at them and you just want the package that's a $300 package. So what that means is the seller will pay the whole $300, and the difference of the $295 difference will go back to the seller. That makes sense, right? The broker fees, remember the fees that we were talked about in the buyer's rep agreement earlier? Those all are done in a separate agreement that says here, close date. We're going to set the close date. Typically, we're going to see about 30 days out, an aggressive lender. And a lot of times it depends on the lender, right? But we're typically seeing 30 days. Sometimes you've got Christmas or holidays in there, or banks are closed, Easter, Christmas, usually things like that, Memorial Day, that sometimes can affect it a little bit, but we're looking at 30 days. Sometimes there's lenders that can be more aggressive, 14, 21 days. A cash deal can be a lot faster. A cash deal, the only thing that slows it down is going to be the title research and the title company getting all that and the documents in order for that. But typically we're going to see 30 days up to 45 days sometimes. So that's what you can expect. Possession. Possession is when you can move in. So you've got upon closing and funding. So keep in mind, closing is when we go and sign the documents. Funding is when the seller gets their money. So funding is when the bank wires the money to the title company. Then the title company will disperse and say, hey, we're funded. Yay! The other thing is according to a temporary residential leaseback. So the sellers, a lot of times in our area, the seller still occupies the home and it's not vacant. And it is quite customary to allow the seller to do a temporary lease in the property after it closes. What this does is it ensures to the seller that if a deal falls through last minute, they don't have a vacant house that they have to resell and another house that they're currently living in. So it gives them about, I'll say about 5 days, 7 days. A lot of times we see this as complimentary, or the seller will reimburse PITI, which is your principal, interest, taxes, and your insurance. So they'll reimburse the buyer for that. Customarily, I don't really see a deposit in there for the seller, but sometimes people will put a little deposit, and we can go over that later too, but it's not a part of the main part of the contract. But those are things to think about. Special provisions, I typically don't have anything there. Settlement and other expenses. So this is seller's contributions to your closing costs. So we don't see this as much in this market as we did back when it was a real buyer's market. It's been a pretty strong seller's market, so we haven't really been seeing that lately in there. Sometimes in lieu of repairs, let's say there's something, a water heater needs to be replaced. In lieu of the water heater, replacing a water heater that doesn't work, the seller will give $1,000 in lieu of doing that, right? And that gets applied to closing costs. So what happens is, remember that on page 1 where it says that cash portion that you, the buyer, will bring to closing, this will just take a little bit less cash that you'll have to bring to closing. So that's where the seller will put that. But we still see sellers contribute, buyers ask for that, and sellers paying for that. Just note that the property does have to appraise, and we'll talk about that as well. Prorations, that's, sellers pay for the taxes during the time that they own the property. You'll pay for taxes from you own the property. Casualty loss, this happens a lot in North Texas. Hailstorms, you're under contract, hailstorm comes, wipe through, comes through and wipes through the property, the sellers can fix it or the buyers can get out and get their earnest money back, okay? Default, and this is back to the legalese, default, mediation, attorney fees. Escrows, this is if we get out of the contract terminates for any reason, this is how the escrow, that earnest money that you put down, 1 or 2% earnest money, how that gets handled. Presentations, we are who we are, who we say we are. Notices, we ask that the notices get sent to Kim and to me, and then we'll forward them to you. Typical addendums or additions to this contract, add, if you think addendum, add, right? Third-party financing addendum. Third-party financing. That's third party is going to be like the bank that's going to give you the financing or the loan. So somebody's going to give you money to purchase the property. So unless it's cash, right? So we're going to add that. Addendum for property subject to mandatory membership in a, that's your HOA addendum. Seller's temporary residential lease. Those are the typical ones that we see. Okay. Option, termination option. So basically we talked about this. This is that period of time. This is important that you know about. This is that period of time in which the buyer can purchase, where they can get out of the contract for any reason. I typically am going to see in a very strong seller's market, if you're competing, we're going to want to do 5 days. In that case, as we're negotiating this contract and we're pretty sure we're going to win this contract, I typically will call the inspector. I want you to call the inspector and schedule to come in the next day, right? To get it, to pencil me into their books, because we need to get those inspections done right away. Just in case there's anything wrong with the property, we want to have time to terminate our contract if we need to. Our goal going into this contract is to move forward, right? Because we got you the right house, but I always like to be able to execute a plan B if we have to. So typically it's going to be, I see 100, 200, up to 500. We had a buyer one time who really wanted to show the seller that they really wanted the house, and they put in $1,000 option money in there. This is non-refundable. You will never see this money again as a buyer, but it will be applied to, assuming you check this box, it will be credited towards your sales price at closing, which is really cool. And then executed, this is a very important date. The date that we put in here, you see this where it says 5 to 7 days. So let's say today is June 1st and you have a 7-day option period. That means that 1 + 7 is 8. So that means that this will expire, your option period expires June 8th at 5 p.m. And we're going to go into this part again here pretty soon. This is very important because your option period is that period of time where you get a free right to terminate this contract without proof, without anything, and it protects your earnest money. So I always say, don't go up to that wire at 5 p.m., 3 p.m., 12 noon that day, middle of the day. Give us time to work through it and to send the termination notice, because it's something that it requires a signature from the buyer. I can't just verbally say, hey, we're out of the contract. We actually need a termination agreement. All right, and this is basically our information. This says that listing brokers agreed to pay other broker 3%. This is already listed on the MLS. It's not something that's negotiated in our area. Yay, it's really quite simple. And then these are the receipts for everything that you submitted. Whew, wow, that was a lot, wasn't it? And that was, we've only covered buyer's representation and contract, but I really think those are the most important parts. So once we get an offer, right, we will submit it to the listing agent. They will go over it with their sellers. The sellers can accept it, reject it, or send us a counter offer. And that's typically what we'll see. We'll see a counter. We'll negotiate back and forth. The idea here is that we come up with a win-win. We obviously have a seller who wants to sell, and for them, winning is selling. We have a buyer who wants to buy, and winning for them is buying. Our goal is to put them together. And all those other, and by negotiating the other blanks. And a lot of times, it's really quite simple. Close in 30 days, let's get our option periods done. The money can be a big factor, but if you're competing as a buyer, you'll notice how you can use all those other blanks to negotiate a better and stronger offer for you. You have a strong lender that calls a listing agent and brags about your qualification as a buyers and brags about us and how great we are to work with as agents. So when you have and you put all those things together, right, it makes a big difference. And the other thing, if you're competing, I am not opposed to you writing a nice letter with a picture of, you know, if you want to, or just whatever it is, whatever it takes to put our best foot forward to win, because I like to win, especially if it's the house that you want. Let's make that happen. Okay, so let's move on. You've got a contract, we've negotiated it, now we're executing it, okay? Now we write some checks. Earnest money check, which is going to be about 1% typically of the sales price. Your option money, which is going to be made directly to the seller. Then shortly thereafter, you're going to write another check for the inspector, right? And then after you get out your option for the appraisal. So you've got all your if you bring on other inspectors to come, let's say, you got to look at your inspector, and we'll talk about this more, kind of like a general practitioner. If you go to a doctor, let's say you've got chest pains, they hurt, they check your chest, and then they're going to refer you to a specialist, maybe a heart specialist. Same thing with the general inspector. The general inspector is going to say, oh, the roof, and then he's going to say, the roof needs attention. I recommend you have a roofer inspect it, or the water heater, or the electrical. I'm going to recommend that you have a plumber or an electrician or a roofer, some kind of, or foundation expert come. And sometimes some of those specialists will charge you a fee just to come out to assess. So just be prepared for that. Home inspector, these are some home inspectors that we like. Here's a link that you can use. Loading. So home inspections, how to choose one. Qualifications, make sure that they're qualified. Ask for a sample report. I like them to have lots and lots and lots and lots of photos. I don't feel like you can have too many photos. People say, is 45-page inspection normal? And I'm like, if they have enough pictures, they are. Because what happens is that, you know, let's say there's something you want to negotiate, and they don't take enough pictures, or they don't take a good picture. And I try to communicate this with the listing agent, a repair that needs to be done, and they can't see it. They're not there at the property, and it's probably been a long time since they've been at the property. So pictures tell 1,000 words, like even more. So I like inspectors that take a lot of pictures, that are really good about explaining, check their references, make sure that they're insured, not just bonded. It's easy to be bonded. Insurance is important. These are some that we've worked with that we've had great reviews on. We already talked about this. Option ends at 5 p.m. Let me know by noon. We can go over the inspection together, but here's the thing. I'm a realtor. If you have a question on the inspection, I highly encourage you to talk to the inspector. You have hired an inspector, you've interviewed them, you like them, you trust them. If I referred you an inspector, I trust them to answer your questions appropriately. So like sometimes people will ask me, so what do you think about, I don't know, what do you think about the water heater? You know, is this normal? I've seen inspections, but trust me, that inspector has seen a lot more water heaters than me. Please ask them. And if you don't know what to ask them, I'm happy to help you come up with the questions to ask them. But let's ask them together, because that's what they're there for. I love what I do, and I want to say I'm really good at it, but probably one of the things that I think is my greatest asset is that I surround myself with people who are specialists in their area. And it's this teamwork that we have been able to have throughout our career, and the relationships that we have, that we share with our clients, that I think is so crazy important. And I want to make sure that you guys take full advantage of that, because it's so important. It's one of the biggest assets of having us as your realtors, our relationships. Please take advantage of them. Okay. So, but what we're looking for first and foremost, and you don't have to remember this because we're going to send you an email that reminds, in fact, I copy pasted this from my email that I remind you of? Basically, we're looking first and foremost for deal breakers. Things that you didn't see when you walked in the house. The water heater does not work. There is a leak underneath the kitchen sink. The roof is totaled, and I'm questioning if it's insurable. They, like that hailstorm that came through 6 months ago, like they didn't have obviously did not have a roofer look at it, because this roof should be insured by that. Foundation, it's like, I didn't realize that it was halfway sliding off of a hill when we first went it, you know, but now that we went outside and looked at all those cracks or whatever, you know, whatever it is, you had a foundation, come look at it. These are things that we're going to negotiate. We want to negotiate that with days left in our option period. By the last day of our option period, we should be coasting, having, you know, coasting and depending, knowing really sure and feeling really good about the house. I'm not a big fan on negotiating anything on the last day of our option period down to the wire. I think that type of pressure sometimes causes people to make questionable choices. So I like to relieve that pressure if at all possible. So a lot of times when I'm pushing to get that inspection done really, really fast is because I want you to have time to review the inspection, to ask all the questions that you need, to do your due diligence, to just ask the experts, and to do what I want you to feel really, really, really good about purchasing this house, right? So these are some inspectors that we love. After you're out of your option period, they're gonna ask you for your credit card number so they can order the appraisal. If you've agreed to do the survey, you're gonna also pay for that too, roughly $500 a piece. Inspection $500, survey $500, appraisal $500, give or take. But you know, you get the idea. It starts adding up, and you haven't even gotten into the house yet. Now you see why a great lender and being pre-approved is so important, because it would really stink after you spent $5,000 on earnest, you know, 1 to 2% on earnest money. Let's say $5,000, right? And inspection $500, option period $500. So that's where what, 6,000, 7,000 after appraisal and survey. I'm making up numbers. I mean, it can be more, it can be less, but you get the idea. And for you not to go through the pre-approval process that only costs you $75 for a credit report and sending in some paperwork, go through the approval process. Talk to the lender. This is why we push this so hard, and I'm still pushing it so hard. You let us know. We're happy to do a 3-way call and introduce you. We do a 3-way Zoom, whatever is comfortable. You can walk into their office because they're local, but you don't have to because of technology. However you want to do it, it's important that you go through that step. All right, I'm going to stop now. I think you get the message how important it is to us. All right. Next, we're going to arrange the closing. They can also do a mobile notary and come out to you. I know that's important sometimes for a lot of people, for health reasons, for work reasons, for so many reasons. And that's, of course, is possible. Also, I'm going to tell you, please do not wire funds. If you get an email that says wire funds to this account, put on the brakes, pump the brakes a little, pick up the phone, call the title company to say, and confirm that information, right? Don't call the number on the email. Make sure that you're calling the actual title company and talking to your escrow agent, right? And do that first. I'll do it for you if you let me know about that email, but a lot of times I'm not going to know about that email. It's going to go directly to you, that communication, because it's about money, and a lot of money. I don't need to be in your money, right? You've got the lender, you've got the escrow officer. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. Cashier's check, they'll let you know exactly how much a cashier's check needs to be for. You can just do that and go to the title company with that, with a copy of your driver's license. And that's it. I mean, golly. Possession, remember, closing is when you sign, funding is when you get the money. If there's a lease back, a seller's temporary lease, that's when that's the possession. You're gonna have your utilities scheduled to be turned on for the day that you get possession. But note, if your possession date is like on a Sunday, I would go ahead and have it scheduled for Friday. You know, some people are like, but I'm not, you know, let's just make sure. I'd hate for an oops to happen and, you know, and you schedule it for Monday, the seller scheduled it for Friday. I mean, just go ahead, schedule it for Friday, know that you have your utilities, know that it's all there. You'll be happy, especially if it's in the summer in Texas, that you have electricity. After closing, the title company will file your documents with the people that they need it to. They'll you'll also get like a DVD with your closing docs if you're there. If you're not, they'll mail it to you. Okay. So think about your new home. What are some things that are going to be wherever you just think about your new home? No matter what it is, it can be new construction. I've worked with a lot of for sale by owners. We've done a lot of new construction. Wherever you find the house, call us. This is what we're here for. We're going to learn what you want in a house through these conversations, and we'll be able to help you with that. Okay. We can sell any of them to you. It's what we do. New construction, we love new construction. We love new construction. And there's been new constructions where people are like, where we didn't have to do much. There's new constructions where we worked harder than we've worked, like a lot. Like the hardest we've ever worked have been on some new construction deals. So some people are like, well, agents don't do anything on new constructions. I'm like, well, sometimes, but a lot of times we do. So it just depends. And it doesn't cost you anything. So you might as well have us on your side for when you do need us. In fact, I have a really great friend who she went and found a house and she just put her name on the contract. And we're like, oh, wow, that was really sweet of her. She like did everything because she bought several houses. And then towards the end, she called us because she needed us. And that's when we went to work for her. And I'm so happy she put us on that contract, because then when we're allowed to represent her, because I gave her the information of brokerage services, I didn't go to that link. I'll get that link for you and we'll cover that, because the state of Texas requires that, and I want to make sure that you get that. And if anything, I'll just add it to the comments so that it's in there. All right, some other resources. These are some other things that we can do in new construction, but you don't need me to read you that. Schooldigger.com. Cool site if you want to know about schools. This link, you can actually, this goes to that, and I can send you my final, I'll add a link to these slides so that you can access the links as well in the comments below, so that you, census quick facts. Actually, I'll just pull that up. In fact, I'll just go ahead and, so that you can kind of get an idea what to expect for all these. All right, let's see who's pulled up. The Census Bureau, you can actually put in, let's see, too many. You can get some pretty cool data in there, yeah? And make sure that you've population by the cities, things like that. It's really cool information that a lot of people want to know. Here's the schools. You can find a school, and it's very self-explanatory. Let's go to Plano. Let's go this, let's see, Thomas Elementary. Ooh. You can get their ratings. And it says homes for sale near here, so you can actually find a house there, you let us know. Some things that you can learn about that. Their ranking, 508 out of 4,421 elementary schools. You know, the great thing about where we live is we do have great schools. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Eyes are watering and everything. Just look at my screen. You got this. Walk scores. Type in the address, neighborhood. This is our Facebook page. Please like it. Do a search for Homestar Sellers, like it. Oh my gosh. I guess it's time for me to go. If you need anything, where did my voice go? I lost my voice too. Oh, I gotta tell you this. Greatest tool, my voice is back, for looking at previewing houses is Google Street View. You can actually drive the neighborhood ahead of time and satellite views. You can find out if it's like, some people, if it's like backs up to a park, power lines, a major street or anything like that, how close it is to that. You use that as a tool. It's a fabulous tool. It'll save you a lot. When I send you the MLS listings, we'll talk about that. Click on the address, satellite view, it'll allow you to, and street view, it'll allow you to do a lot of research about in the neighborhood and kind of do a little virtual drive-by before and eliminate the property. Things to consider, like what areas you like, how close to work or your children's events. Like my son plays soccer at FC Dallas. My daughter is in Allen. We work everywhere. What we like to do for fun, school districts we prefer. Do we want to move our kids' schools? What middle schools? What high schools? Things like that. HOAs. Think about what are the top 5 things you in your home. Like for me, I wanted when the last time we purchased a home, I wanted 1 story. I wanted an office. I wanted a place for a trampoline. I wanted a pool and no HOA. So I got 4 out of 5. I had to give up on one of those. And beyond one of those things, what is the other thing I would like, but I don't have to? The other was a 3-car garage, so we got that. If you could have something else, what would it be? Like I wanted a large lot that my son could also play soccer on. That was really cool. And then if you could have one last thing to make this your dream, if you could wave a magic wand, what would it be? Fully updated kitchen, an ensuite, master ensuite, what is it? Typical search criteria for when we put in the MLS, and I can show that to you maybe another day. I'll go through that because I feel like your drink's probably empty. You need a snack. My voice is, I've started coughing, so obviously I've already talked a lot. The area, city, zip, square feet, minimum, maximum. Like some people are like, really anything under 2,000 square feet is too small. For me, I didn't want a really big house. Because I want to keep us together. So anything over 3,000 square feet was big. A master down is important for some people. Some people really want the kids all together. So the master up with all the bedrooms is important. Sometimes it's having just 1 bedroom down is important. 2 stories versus 1 story. Some people really just want a 2 story. Some people just want a 1 story. Minimum number of bathrooms. Is it 3? Do you have to have 3 or is 2 okay? Minimum price, like, you know, if it's under X amount of dollars, I probably not, but definitely not over X amount. Lot size, typically people have a minimum lot size. I say, if they'll say like, oh, 1/4 acre. I'm like, what if it's 0.22? And they're like, well, it depends on layout. Let's not say 0.25 because it'll eliminate some that might actually work depending on how the house is laid out on the lot. HOA, is that a deal breaker? For me, I didn't want it, but obviously it wasn't a deal breaker, so I didn't eliminate it. Pool was a deal breaker. The only reason we were moving was to get a pool versus building a pool. So things to think about. This is our search. I make this pretty broad. We can do multiple searches. So you can have multiple searches going. So maybe one is houses in the area that have all these criteria with the pool, all these criteria without a pool, all these in an HOA, no HOA. And then in the subject line, it'll tell you what it is. And then we can have one with all the above if you want, or we can just do one. Sometimes it's too many. We can also set it up so it sends it to you right away. As soon as it hits the market, you get a notification. I say do that when you're actively ready to buy today. But if you're just looky-looey, maybe once a day, like in the morning, or maybe once a week, something like that. So something, because we don't want to burn you out before it's really time to look. But when you're ready to window shop, let's hit it hard. And that's it. So I am so happy that you took this time to spend with us. I hope you found it helpful. This is the first time I've done this Buyers 101. I will probably do it again and clean it up. I feel like I fumbled through that and I kind of coughed at the end. But at the end of the day, I hope that it helps you and you found it helpful. And I wish you all the best. Give me a call if there's anything. My cell number is 214-683-6746. My husband's is 469-231-1057. Here, I'll send you a picture. This is when we spoke. That's my husband. We got to speak in front of all those people, and they were so nice. They said hello to my family, but that's him and that's me. And call us. We're both here to work to help you. Again, because I know you get that pen and paper to write down all your questions. Just write down. My name is Bettina, Bettina. My cell is 214-683-6746. Our website is homestarsellers.com. You can also go to Facebook, Homestar Sellers, search for Homestar Sellers on Facebook, and we want to help you. If you have any questions, let us know. If it's not the right time to buy, that's okay for you. We can still visit about it because we know that whether you're looking to buy 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, it's really about our relationships, because our relationships has got them this far in our real estate business. And that's kind of the fun part of this business. So we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, y'all. Bye.